Hello, I'd like to welcome you all to the panel on comic script writing and processing in the digital age. I'm not one for long introductions. My name is Nathan Wilson. I'm just going to be moderating the panel today. And two gentlemen to my right obviously need little introduction, but let's welcome Waid and Matt Fraction. Thinking about starting this off very generous, I told Mark on how you came to learn process. How you came to learn process and script writing. I know, Mark, you started off as an editor, right? And so, you know, your lengthy tenure in that. What did that teach you that you brought in?
Everything. Because everything I knew up to that point about writing scripts was osmosis. Was just having read 10,000 comic books, which is, I think, the worst way to learn to write comic books. And in the late 80s, I worked at DC as an editor for a couple of years, and I worked on this anthology book called Secret Origins, which meant that every month we went through 3 or 4 different stories. And so I worked with every writer on staff at every writer, every 3 minutes.
Alan Moore did The Phantom Stranger.
Exactly, and Neil Gaiman did. Neil Gaiman was doing stuff for me, and you know, and all of these guys, and everybody. And so having all those scripts come across my desk, and in the short course of 2 years, which was like I've learned more in those 2 years than in 10 years on my own. It was like boot camp for writing, and that taught me a great deal about structure and about what excited me as a reader and how to sort of replicate it as a writer. What about you? Where did you?
I think I learned actually maybe the second worst place that I was learning, which was the first and third Sandman trade paperbacks that were released as part of a slipcase, so that the second book, which had already been, this tells you how stupid trade paperback strategy was in 1991. But the third one, Dream County, came with Neil Gaiman's book, and that was the first comic strip I'd ever seen, and it's written by Neil Gaiman. The fog presses its back against the wet stones down the cobblestone. You know, it's very realistic, it's very prosaic. I'm like, well, shit, you write a book. Okay. Like the script that you write has to be just as good as what your script ultimately, I've learned, is for your editor. Yep. And your writer. Your artist. Your artist. Whatever we do. So that realization that the script that I'm actually writing is 2 people are going to see. 3 if you've got an involved with it colorist that wants to be, you know, an active part of the team. At best, 3 people are going to read that script. And that was a big like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then in so much it can become much more informal, very much like a letter.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, there's no right and wrong way to do it. There's 10 million different formats, and some guys use Final Draft. And I discovered for me that like for every like a quiz about what kind of pens I use or like notes to use, everything I wrote about writing I wasn't actually writing, and I kept myself, I think, from really. I realized one night, like, if you want to be a writer, maybe you should write.
That's true. And artists will say the same thing. It's like, you know, the more questions that the aspirant has about what pencils, what paper, what's up, it means he's just kind of stalling. Just do the work. Cavemen didn't use number 2 pencils, or you know, it's just okay. Have a bristle board. Just go out there and make your drawings.
And I did actually take books that I love. I took Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli's Batman Year 1, and I wrote the script.
That's great. Yeah.
I did a cover version. I sat there and wrote it out.
Yeah.
And that was huge. How would you communicate to artists to give? Like how would you? I get to teach do a thing about this, and I found in the early '90s, some publisher put a book out of the first 4 From Hell scripts.
Oh, great. Okay.
And right as I started to work at Marvel and Punisher, Axel wanted to send me a bunch of stuff just to kind of see this is the way the guys in my office write. Yeah. They sent me a Garth Ennis Punisher script. Right. And there was a Garth Ennis Punisher book that opened with the same shot as the first issue of From Hell, which was a long shot down the beach and 2 guys are walking as the surf comes in. And Garth wrote, it's a long shot down the beach, probably Sheepshead Bay, 2 guys are walking and the surf's coming. And it's for Steve Dillon. Steve's going to draw the hell about it. It's going to look great. And Alan Moore wrote 3.5 pages.
Now, his artist was the most well-informed artist you can imagine at that point, because the artist now knows how much change the guy's got in his pocket and what the other guy had for breakfast. which may be part of the gestalt of drawing this thing. But
Gibbons did too, but no, there's a Campbell from Hell, and then when he did, was that After the Snooter or Lefty or something, I can't remember which, but Ed Campbell's done biography comics his entire life, and From Hell was 12 years.
yeah.
So eventually, his autobio books caught up with him doing From Hell. So while From Hell is coming out, he's doing comics about doing From Hell. And there's an amazing sequence where he had a panel depicting just a brick of text. It was as though he took a panel finder over the From Hell script and just cut it out.
Yeah.
And again, the fog with the back crushing down the whetstone, and the prostitute and the gas lamp. And then you see the panel as it was drawn, and there's fog and the prostitute and the gas light. And then you see what he does to the script, which is to cross out everything but fog. Prostitute. Because to physically manage the document, because he's getting these 80-page scripts.
Yeah, Gibbons did the same thing with the Watchmen scripts too. He'd get these amazing scripts from Alan Moore and Watchmen, and what he would do is he would read it through for enjoyment, and he would take a blue highlighter and a yellow highlighter. And with the blue highlighter, he would highlight the characters in the panel, and the yellow highlighter, he would highlight what they're doing. And that way, as he's looking at the script, he gets it. I think you're right though. It's about brevity. It's about you're not writing to impress an outside audience. You're just trying to communicate your ideas to your artist and to your editor, and everything else is great. I mean, if this is why I don't know about you, but when I write a 20-page script, I kind of feel like if I've got more than 20 manuscript pages in hand, anytime I run over that, it feels a little heavy to me.
Really?
It feels like a page for a page just feels about right, because if it takes me more than a page to describe what's going on, it's not. I mean, it's just a rule of thumb. If I'm setting up an important shot, or if I'm setting up something that I have to tell the artist, by the way, this is the kind of stuff you're going to have to watch for the next few pages. By the way, there's a fat man in the corner, but you're not going to necessarily have to see him in this page, and be aware there's a window on the east wall, but we don't have to see that here. Then, it gets a little long, but that my script tend to clock in even with dialogue in about a page for
You don't feel that limit. I'm sorry. You don't feel that limits you at all, though.
No, because I can take whatever space. That is the least of my limitations. the biggest limitation is it's 22 pages or 20 pages. And you have to hit the bottom of a page every time. That's the biggest pain in the butt about writing comics than any other medium. People tell me, TV writing is no piece of cake. Really? Because I don't have to do 5 panels on a page on a television. Yes, I have to hit 40 minutes, but I got a lot more elbow room in there when I do that stuff.
Well, it's funny now. One of the best pieces of advice my pal Joe Casey gave me when I was starting out was he always tries to make every page end with some little hook, some little cliffhanger, some question that they ask, or some revelation, some kind of progression of the Hegelian dialectic storytelling. And it's like, it's just a good thing to keep in mind. Always give a reason for somebody to turn the page or to go to the next panel. And as I've started to write screenplays, I try to do the same thing.
Oh, that's interesting.
The last line on the page is some kind of kick or some twist, and I've had a lot of success with that. It was really readable.
Yeah.
Well, since you come from a film and arts background, with comics, obviously you have to be the director as well as the writer. So now that you're going to screenplays, do you find that that's at all disjointing?
No, it's still the opposite. I still have to remind myself constantly not to try to outwrite what my artist can draw. I got into a big debate last night actually with Mendes and Posada at the bar about writing Marvel style.
Yeah, okay.
Have you written Marvel style?
Exactly.
And one person, I'm not saying who, said emphatically, that's not writing, and someone else said, it absolutely is writing. It's collaborating, and it's what made Marvel,
Right, because what we're talking about is a style by which that Stan Lee kind of invented in the early '60s when he had a million artists to supply scripts for,
and a million books to produce,
and a million books to produce, and he was only one guy, so he would basically do a very brief, maybe a paragraph per page, kind of outlining the action, saying here's what happens, and here's a vague idea of what the dialogue is going to be, but then the artist then breaks it down, does the pacing, the pencils come back, and then you as the writer go and put in the actual finished dialogue. And a lot of times you're staring at panels going, well, I'm not quite sure what's happening here, but okay, this is a challenge. So, but I do think it's right. It's a different kind of writing, but it's totally writing.
I find it terrifying.
Yeah.
I find it deeply terrifying.
Have you done this yet?
No, but I'm excited to. I'm now thinking if it's scary, it's good.
Oh yeah.
Fear is good for the soul.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
The first thing you'll learn is that it does keep you from overwriting. It will really, you realize how sparse you can be, especially if you're working with a really good, talented storyteller. Like conversely, if you're working with somebody who has no idea what they're doing and should cut off their hands and bury their artboard, then you've got the entire, it's hell. There was one, I won't say which, but there was one comic I did that with, and it was a long one too. It was like a 45-page story. And I did it Marvel method like that, and the pages came back, and the guy who was a nice enough guy, just really inexperienced, it was so bad that I sat down at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and I vowed not to leave the chair until I finished dialoguing all 45 pages in one sitting, because it took me like until midnight, but if I got up from the chair, I would never have the courage to come back.
Right.
You know.
An issue that was outlined last night. I had to email myself. Oh, it was embarrassing. Excuse me, I have to text me. Maybe you get some with the Hammerson.
When you both sit down and write, I mean, tell us a little bit about your process. I mean, a lot of people obviously deadline, but I mean, do you have very much structure or discipline when you write in terms of that, or is it just when the inspiration strikes you?
I mean, I got 2 kids, so
Yeah.
I am water will find its level. Anywhere I have no anywhere I can find it in a second. And I have a very disorganized. I describe it. This is my favorite metaphor for how I write. It's like catching butterflies, but with a stick covered in honey. So you have to catch the butterflies in the right order. And then I get them all in a stick, and I look at it, and I go, "That's wrong." And I have to pick them up and then recatch it. And it's like a very, it starts as very scrambled, and then it's like a road trip without a map. Like we're gonna go to LA. Right? We know it's west. We know it's southwest from here. We're gonna get there. We're gonna be fine. Like they think, oh wait a second, but Highway 55 was supposed to go from Chicago to LA. That's great. Okay, so we can find 55. We'll follow that for a while. And it's like, look, we're in Kentucky. We're clearly heading south. We're going in the right direction. And then it's like, oh wait, no, Pennsylvania. We screwed up. Like I know ultimately where I'm going. I don't know how I'm gonna get there. And eventually, I kind of place together. Like I said, it's organized. I'll realize I forgot things, but I need this later. I need to put a gun on the mantle. And that kind of stuff occurs to me. So it's very disorganized. I wish it was. I wish it was other. And now I'm doing Fear itself, and I have to. It's a big thing. It's a big
There's a lot of moving pieces there, and you've got to be on top of all that
stuff. So for the first time, it's not. I can't rely on my relationship with an editor to trust that, okay, Savant will be fine. I have to express this in a way that people will get it and understand, and it's like, it's so awful. It robs the life and the joy from me.
Well, it does, because part of the joy of writing is that, I don't know about you, but the only thing that gets me through the middle parts of the script, or especially when you've already thought them out for 2 weeks ahead of time, is, oh my God, I better find some new way of doing this. And frequently, when I get blocked, I'll just have my characters turn left when I wanted them to turn right, just to see what will happen. Just anything to surprise myself, or anything to shock myself, anything to make, even if I think I know where this is supposed to be going, I'll have the characters suddenly, get on a plane somewhere, just to get the sparks moving and stuff, because that's the exciting thing. I've only got 2 speeds, which is can't start and can't stop. And so if I can't start, I'm just staring at people. Once you get engaged, then it's like the next thing you know, it's 3 in the morning, but you've got to finish script, and angels are singing. Yeah.
James Elroy does these tremendous outlines.
Yeah.
And he's like, he can't write unless he knows everything before he starts to write. He has to know it all, and I don't get that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Really, James Elroy will have a meticulous outline, so it's all.
I don't get that. Conversely, Earl Stanley Gardner, who did Perry Mason, and this I find just mind-blowing. He would write his books by grabbing a tape recorder and starting to dictate the book. And he would just dictate his book into the tape recorder. No notes, a few notes here and there, scraps of paper and stuff.
Did you like a mystery?
And it was a mystery.
Exactly.
You can't exactly these ironclad, these iron tight murder mysteries.
That's why Archie always forgot to mention. No, I forget to tell you that I found the bloody wrench.
Yes, sir. But
so you